This episode of Audio Pong is brought to you by Kringlekind.
I love Kringlekind.
The special German treat brought to you by the great country of Deutschland. Kringlekind can be used in a various assortment of, I have no idea.
Foot powders.
I got nothing. That's as far as I go with my
Genital
improv.
fungus.
Fungus?
It cures it.
Oh, I thought it was like a food. I was gonna eat it.
Oh, Kringle does sound like it's something edible.
Kringlekind. It sounds like almost like chips.
Kringlekind.
It's like
I'm gonna
the German
look that up.
Kringles.
Well, then you
actually
can make
means
that
anything.
so that could be the plot to a horror movie, kind of like The Stuff.
Oh yeah,
Called Kringlekind.
Stuff.
yeah.
You think it's good on cookies?
What was the
Well,
guy's
you were
name?
Wrong.
Captain Chocolate Chip Cookie?
Oh no, it's Chocolate Chip Charlie.
Yeah.
Chocolate Chip
Chocolate Chip Charlie.
He's got the stuff. I'm looking it up to
That was
see
a
if it
horrible
actually
B movie.
is
No, that was an
German.
excellent movie.
Oh,
You didn't like The Stuff?
I mean, I liked it because it was horrible.
It's a horror movie. It has horrible. Horror is in
It's
horrible.
in the word.
It's in the word. It's in the recipe. Think about that. Like, how many horror movies are really, change your philosophy?
The Thing.
Yeah, okay.
That's a seriously good.
But that's what one in. I mean, how often is what I mean?
How often? It depends what you're watching. But I do enjoy horrible horror movies. Like bad B movie zombies are my favorite. Like, I love it. It's great. Zombie strippers every day. Deathgasm, thank you.
I guess where I have trouble with that is like when someone says like, "Oh, I love it because it's bad." Well, it's like if it's bad, if you love it, then it's not bad, right?
Yeah, but I like that it's bad, right?
You like that the quality is?
Yeah, I like the
and
the graininess,
the
production
the
value.
weird shaky cam sometimes. It all adds to
The
the
hungry sense of passion in the project.
the hilarious
Yeah.
of it.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I guess I just don't think it makes a movie bad. Like, if I like something, it's because I think it's good. I enjoy it. Like, if I'm entertained by it, the story can be trite. That's fine. It can be completely lost in space for all I care.
Dude, killer
I guess,
clowns in
I used to
outer
think
space.
I used to think that in the 80s, like, all you need for a horror movie is like gore and tits.
Well, I mean, that is the classic, right?
I kind of miss it, actually. I think a lot of movies are too prude now. They're too. They try to get
but
too
they
wide
shy
an
away not only
audience.
from sexuality, but they shy away from gore too. A lot. Like, dude, Japanese supergores, one of my favorite genres as well. You got like Robo Geisha, Boy Eats Girl.
Well, speaking of Robo Geishas, we have with us today Camden Earl Brown in our studio.
Yeah, we are blessed.
Which I thought was a basement, but you surprised me, and it's
Don't
not.
spoil it. Don't
I
spoil
won't
it.
say what it is, but it's to the listeners at home. It is not a basement.
It's not a basement.
So if you're picturing a basement, stop.
Well, don't we want them to picture like a dungeon-esque basement right now? Because we're kind of talking about horror and Halloween today. So
True, yeah.
maybe
never
we
mind.
want them to think
Yeah,
about basements.
we're in a basement. We don't know whose
We're in a
house.
basement in our minds. Is that
In
what
our
you're
minds.
saying?
There's chains hanging with hooks.
Oh, I like
so
that.
there's a
It's
Cinnabite in the
35
corner.
Parker. That's good.
Well, your mind is the attic. Your feet are the basement.
Oh,
Or your bottom is the basement.
What's
maybe.
so what's so like
Where do
your,
I
like,
live?
gut is like your
Gut
your
is the living room.
Yeah,
Or bathroom. You could have two bathrooms.
you could
One in the front of the house and one in the back of the house.
That could be a horror
Your body is a
story.
house. Yeah, the horror, yeah.
Inside of a human body. Like Inner Space or
Like Inside Out, the
Inside
kids
Out.
movie. Osmosis Jones.
Yeah,
Kids
Oh,
maybe,
movie.
Osmosis
make
Jones.
Osmosis Jones a horror. It almost is a horror movie, really.
Well, I mean, it's pretty
Think
gross.
about it. This
It's
guy's
got some body
possessed
horror.
by animated diseases that are taking over his body, and then he almost dies. It is a fucking horror movie.
Yeah.
I guess every movie is a horror movie if you think about it.
Anything about life is a horror movie. Even a love story. I mean, look at Titanic. That to me, like Bill Burr says that, and I agree with him. He's like, if you're a guy, that movie is a horror story. Like it is. It's about men dying. It's like everybody stays
For no
behind to
reason.
die.
That movie came out 23 years ago today, I believe.
Today?
Yeah, I
Really?
just saw a thing for it. 23 years.
Is that your favorite horror love story?
One of my favorite. I saw that movie with my mom when I was 7 or 8. Yeah, Yeah, I learned a lot because it was good having her with me so she could explain what was going on.
Like in the love scene?
Like in the love scene, yeah.
So
They're wrestling.
Oh, so you learned the birds and bees with Titanic.
No, I just thought they were wrestling. Same thing with Terminator. My dad was like, they're wrestling. And then she pins him down at the end, and he's like, she won. She won that one.
I don't know if you're joking or if you're serious.
No, he really. That's what I learned. It was all about wrestling.
Sex is wrestle. Oh.
That's still how I look at sex. It's wrestling.
And
you get a workout for sure.
Yeah.
So are you accidentally romantic then? Do you draw her every time?
No. My cat lays on the bed like Rose does in Titanic sometimes.
That's kind of weird. Do you ever get weird by animals watching you?
Yeah, Perkins had a thing for a while where he would try to sniff the underwear of
He's
girls.
your cat, one of your cats.
Perkins, yeah, he's one of the cats. He's my roommate. He's my old roommate.
Yeah.
Perkins, he was a pervert.
Animal.
He still lives with me because he couldn't move anywhere else. He's kind of weird. Right now, I'm reading Harry Potter to my fiance. I guess I won't say her name for privacy reasons. And there's a character named Perkins. He's this old warlock. And he gets mentioned randomly a few times. So it's like kismet, like I have a cat named Perkins. Harry Potter is a character named Perkins.
So all your cats are based off of characters.
No, yeah. Well, I keep the name they get when I get them. I don't believe in
rescues.
changing their names. I think that's cruel.
Cool.
His name was Perkins.
Confusing, but
Yes, it's confusing
cool.
to them too. Yeah, yeah. You gotta keep the name they have.
Yeah, I don't know why you would change a name. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Imagine if we adopted humans like that. Well, there's another good story, a plot for a horror story, is that, and it's like in a different time and place of humanity or on Earth where I guess it's like a form of slavery, but it's okay to buy humans as pets, or maybe like a demonic race or an alien race.
Well, there's a movie called Fido where zombies become like house slaves, pretty much.
With what's his name? Billy Connolly. The Scottish actor.
Is he in it?
Yeah, he's
seen it.
Fido. Don't you know? But he's not Scottish in it. He's
a
a zombie.
Really? I didn't realize.
Billy Connolly.
is
He's
a
so
zombie,
good.
a Scottish zombie.
Yeah.
Does that even make a difference? I don't think like your
No, you can't tell the
nationality matters
difference.
when you're a
But I
zombie.
think it would be really funny if you had.
No, Scottish zombies, they're...
do they
instead
moan
of,
in Scottish?
like an American zombie would be like... and the Scottish zombie would be like...
Jokes on his own moaning.
That's
That's what she said.
Zombies are awesome, and I like that there's so many different types of zombies. Like Chinese zombies are stiff, and they got like the paper on them on their forehead, so it's like a enchantment. And then they just hop, they're like like a bunny hop. And then they used it in a lot of stories to transport the dead. Like that's how they move them, is by animating them, and they'd hop around. And then
interesting.
Zombies, I just watched like a bunch of things by PBS. They do like YouTube channel stuff, and Dr. Emily Zarkov, she is awesome.
Dr. Zarkov.
Zarkov.
Or not Zarkov.
Straight up.
What is it?
Isn't that like...
Or no, Dr. Zhivago. That's what I was thinking.
I don't
Not
remember.
Zhivago. Zarkov is in Flash Gordon, isn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah,
What is
that's
her
what it
name?
was. Zarkov.
She's Dr. Zarkov, the descendant.
Yeah, whatever. They call her Dr. Z, but I can't remember her last name, I guess.
Dr. Zombie?
No, but she started she has a PhD in that kind of like studies
Zombology.
of like, well, not zombies in particular, but that's what got her into it. Anyways, she just did like a 3-part thing of like the history of zombies. And she was
this
saying,
is a real thing, or are you talking
yeah,
about a movie?
no, it's by PBS.
Oh.
And Dr. Emily Czar something, you know.
We'll call her Zarkov.
She's on
That's
Storied. Anyways, zombies started as reanimating like slaves, pretty much, to use them. And it was done like it was voodoo.
Yeah.
So that was pretty. I thought that was interesting.
cool. So is that immoral if we raise the dead to be a new
To be
labor
servants?
force? I think that's pretty immoral. It's still slave. I mean, we would still think of them as humans,
Well,
right?
they're slaves to death. No.
Well, no, because they're not.
no,
If they're
yeah.
soulless and they don't have a mind anymore.
Well, if it's voodoo, they're slaves. But like a viral zombie, you're just a slave to the virus.
I mean, some countries use, imprisoned citizens or people.
well,
as
we
their labor
used to even
force.
do that too.
Yeah, I'm just
I
saying.
don't know. I
like-
think we still kind of do have slave. we still have prison work.
Oh, it's slave
right?
labor, all right.
It is pretty
You force
slave.
someone to work and you're slaving them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they get paid, right?
So
Air
they're
quotes.
indentured.
5 cents an hour. or
They're
something.
indentured servants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is slavery too.
Well,
I mean-
it is. I mean, look at like, was it Saudi Arabia or United
Dubai.
Arab Emirates? Yeah, Dubai. Like, their labor force is basically slave labor.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
pretty
much
dark.
about them.
That's why I would never go to any of those places. Because, I mean, they look great, but like as one guy on the internet put it, he's like, yeah, they're great if you're male.
Which
and
we all
you're
are.
Arab.
Oh, we're not
Yeah.
that part. I got a nose that could fool. You know.
I think you could get away with it. You do have kind of like a Middle Eastern look to you. Like it's like a German Middle Eastern look.
German.
Yeah, because you have the bone structure of like a German person or like a Viking or something.
Okay.
But then
my nose is
So
a little.
He'd be like what happened after
then
the
what about my
Crusades.
eyes? Yeah, but my eyes are a little squinty. You know,
They all wear sunglasses.
so I got.
Get some Rolex.
But the thing is,
going.
I'm 3 continents, right? I'm Middle East, I'm Eastern, and Europe.
Oh, you mean you are?
Well, I don't
Middle
know.
East is.
Oh.
I want to do that 23andMe and find out, but then they'll have my genetic information, and then they can sell that,
They'll frame you for
You know,
murder.
my sister did that, and
or they can find other murderers too.
She found out that she's actually almost 75% Bulgarian. So even more Bulgarian than we thought, because that were only 50%.
The thing is that with that is that you could be only 50% Bulgarian, she could be 75%
True.
Bulgarian.
I haven't done it
because of the way
myself,
genetics
right.
works. Is
Yeah,
you
she
get
had
half
myself.
of your parents, genetic
No, you're
material,
right.
so she could get more of the Bulgarian side, and you could get less.
She got most of it.
Yeah,
You
she
know,
stole it from me.
So if I'm firstborn, so
Well, what's
maybe
crazy too with these sites is they can tell you how closely you're related to people. So you could accidentally find out if you're adopted by doing that because it would show, your parents and your siblings. So like for mine, it shows my parents and my brother, and it's a certain number of something, and depending on the number, that's how closely related you are. So my numbers for them are really high. So if I wasn't related to them, my numbers wouldn't show up for them.
So you can find out if you were a love child.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm sure it's happened. Someone's figured it out.
No doubt it's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be
Wait a
shocked if that was true for me, though. I mean, I look very much like a mix of my parents.
Well, that's how they designed you in the laboratory to look like.
Dude,
The
if I was
scientists who made you.
designed, they fucked up.
Yeah, I was going to say they should have done a better job, Mark. I'm sorry.
Well, okay, the first car they made wasn't perfect. They gotta give it a couple goes.
So
They're
there's
still
some good things about the prototype, man. You gotta
It's a
give
strong
some credit,
head,
man.
that's for sure.
I'm still trying to figure out what it is, but I'm sure it's there.
If you guys could choose to be any monster, what would you choose to be?
You mean like a classic horror monster?
Any monster.
Any monster. I'd be a
Mythology.
vampire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
I think I would want to be a vampire too, but it just seems so mainstream to be vampire.
I don't care.
And I also really want a prehensile tail, like I control, but I can't think of any monsters that have that.
Why can't you
that
be
can
like
fly and have a tail?
an orangutan monster? Dude, you're basically describing the flying monkeys from the Wizard of Oz.
I thought of that, but I
With
don't want to
fangs.
be a flying monkey. I want to have intelligence,
Well, they're smart.
Are you
much
saying
more.
flying monkeys aren't smart?
Yes. And they're slaves.
Interesting. Oh,
Only because the witch was so powerful.
we don't know if they were slaves. They may have been being compensated for their monkey ways.
Yeah, with raw meat.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
maybe she
Maybe that's
gave
all they
them like
needed.
the
I want
abilities
more.
that they had. Maybe they were men once, and now they're monkeys that can fly.
Yeah, they're like, yeah. That
They
could be
evolved.
that they were cursed, but they're not smart anymore because you need to break the human mind.
Well, if you watch the musical Wicked, it actually explains how the monkeys got
Oh, really?
wings.
Well, explain it, 'cause
it was
I
like a
haven't seen it
magical
forever.
experiment, and all of a sudden one of the monkeys starts growing wings, and then he's hopping around, and you're like, "Oh, that's how they made them."
yeah. I
Interesting
forgot that.
musical. Have you ever seen
I
it?
did. I took a girl
It's basically
on a
a
date a long
prequel.
time ago.
Yeah, I saw it, but I don't remember
most of it.
anything about
Yeah.
it. I watched it in like 8th grade.
Yeah,
It's a good play.
Yeah. But then I thought
not good enough apparently.
yokais are pretty cool too.
What?
Yokai,
Yokai?
which is just like a Japanese monsters in general. But like particularly, I would want to be like a Tenkoon, which is like a giant like man who has wings and has like a long nose and it looks like a bird and is a warrior. Like that sounds cool too.
Damn.
Yeah, Tengus are really awesome.
What's a Japanese vampire like, though? I wonder. Because every culture has like their own unique.
Yeah, they really
Vampire.
do. I'd have to look into that. I haven't really
I'm pretty
seen
sure my grandmother told me in Bulgarian they were called korokoncho,
Control.
which is, I guess, just like, I don't know, like an evil or like their version of undead or something. I don't know. I've never looked it up, but that's how she described it. Because they say vampire too, or vampire.
Yeah. Well, because Bulgaria is pretty close to like Transylvania
like
area
Europe, Eastern
and all
Europe,
that.
so
Yeah.
they all have pretty much the same lore, so to speak. You know.
Well, it's kind of like how like Norse mythology is like all up in that area of Europe. It goes from like Germany even to England.
I see Camden as an evil leprechaun.
Well, no, I'd be a werewolf.
Yeah.
You would be.
I mean,
I've always felt
you've
connections.
been called Lobo at work how many times?
Yeah, I tried to convince my stepdaughter that I'm a werewolf. She kind of believes it.
I
think.
would believe it.
That's cool. So does she get scared in a full moon? Does she
No,
like,
she just is
kinda
like,
look at
oh,
you?
cool. That's why he's hairy, because he turns into a wolf sometimes.
Why
Yeah.
don't you just tell her that you're a man? She doesn't have to believe that you're like a girl.
A girl.
Wait, what?
Well, that men are hairy. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Huh. I always tell her, this is what a real man looks like.
Yeah.
Show her my arms, like, see? This is why I don't get cold, because I'm furry.
It,
You show a
it breaks
picture
up
of
the
me,
wind.
like, you don't
for
want to
sure.
be like him. He's a hairless freak.
The moon last night was great.
Yeah,
Full
it
moon
was
on
blue.
Halloween.
Did you see
Oh,
that?
was it really?
Yeah.
can't
Saw
believe
it
I
when it
missed
was on
it.
the horizon, just giant yellow.
Actually, I went
Beautiful.
out because it was Halloween night. I was out last night. It was actually a pretty clear night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice and bright.
That's
love
cool.
full moon.
I
I
like
can see
I like
Cameron.
when it's like you're in a dark zone, like where there's not many lights out, and then you just use the moonlight and the stars and everything. To add
Especially
to
when
the
there's
light. You
snow.
can actually see pretty well. Like
Yeah.
snow's
on the ground.
Snow is
like,
awesome.
even
Yeah,
brighter.
yeah, because it like
Reflects
it bends,
all that.
it reflects light, and it also bends light too,
Mm-hmm.
so you can see better.
Well, tripping when I've tripped outside, that is the coolest shit, especially at night.
Snow or
Yeah, and you see like the more light reflects and the more shadows, the crazier it is.
I bet there's a lot of like refractions that in the
It
snow
just-
too that you like starts to glitter in your eyes.
It's so. I mean, it's really heavy hallucination. It's like your mind takes a picture. You know, like when you're like in old Windows operating systems, old computers, and they would bug out, and then like your mouse would drag copies of itself
Oh,
across
yeah,
the
that's
screen,
fun.
or like you drag a window and it
Yeah.
just like clones itself
Yeah.
infinitely. That's what it's like. It's like all the shadows and all the light you see just drags as you look around. It's crazy. It's cool.
Sounds fun.
It's fun. I think it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I just do it with my imagination instead.
That's why you can't sleep.
Yeah,
You're just
I'm
thinking all that
constantly
wild shit,
thinking.
and
Yeah.
you can't go to bed.
Yeah, maybe that's my problem. I need to stop thinking.
True. Stop thinking. Stop breathing. Have you ever tried holding your breath so long that you just fall asleep?
Pass out.
Does that happen? Is a
That does
thing?
happen, but I haven't done it.
Yeah.
I have. The longest I've stayed up was, well, I don't know the longest I stayed up, but the least amount of sleep I ever got was 6 hours in an entire week.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was finals once and for college.
Were you like hallucinating and
Yes.
seeing? Yeah.
Yeah.
They say
So
that
I started
happens.
with audio hallucinations. I started hearing people whispering my name, Zach, 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 like all around me.
Jesus.
And I freaked out in class because I was like, who the fuck is saying my name? And it was no one.
That was I don't believe in like the metaphysical or ghosts or anything now, but when I was younger, something like that did happen to me and I couldn't explain it. And I was in a room and back then I was heavy into reading about like witches and like out of body experiences, like all this paranormal
Yeah.
shit that I just couldn't get enough of, right? Because I used to listen to like Coast to Coast with Art Bell, which is like an old radio show in like the late 90s, early 2000s that my dad loved because he's a huge conspiracy theorist. So I go to work with him sometimes in the summer when I was off of school, and it was just 16 hours straight of that shit, like every kind of radio content you could think of, and it was mostly conspiracy. But I'm in a room, and the door's closed, and I'm reading this little book about witchcraft, and it's like a study. It's not like how to. It's like a study of like what people in that culture do. And someone in the other room is vacuuming, but it's like dead silent otherwise in the room I'm in. And then out of nowhere, a man's voice, I mean clear as crystal as you can hear me now, says something in Bulgarian in my ear. And I just freeze from fear. It was, I'm not kidding, like I had to have been hallucinating, but it was like as if someone, like I could almost feel the person's breath, like they were right in my ear. and I don't remember what the word was, but I knew it sounded Bulgarian.
Yeah.
And I tried so hard to try and remember what the word was, but I froze. Like, I was terrified.
That's funny.
I froze, man. I couldn't move. It felt like forever until finally. And then once I could finally move, I literally was like trying to throw my body because my legs wouldn't move. So like, not just my shoulders were moving. So
That's the worst kind of fear. Paralysis. That's awful.
It was with like sober, fully awake
It's like-
sleep paralysis.
Oh,
Basically.
it was. But you were already awake when it happened.
I was
right?
fully awake. I was reading.
See, that's awful. I would never want fear paralysis like that.
I used to get it.
I never had that. I've always had the fight, never the flight. It's
I've
always
had
been. I'm hitting this thing.
I've had the shadow people like attack me.
Yeah.
Like another quick story is I was sleeping, and imagine like a really small pitch black room, but the door's open and there's like a tiny nightlight somewhere in the hallway. So there's just this faint silhouetted glow of the doorway, right? And it's the middle of the night. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just woke up for no reason, and my eyes are slowly opening. I'm staring at the doorway, and then suddenly this shadow of it looked like a man with a knife just instantly appears from the floor, stands up and leaps on me and starts stabbing me violently.
That's so cool.
And my body just froze while I tried to like fight it, like to get out of it.
Well, you were in sleep paralysis, which is different than a fear paralysis.
That was definitely like sleep paralysis.
Because your body releases a chemical that makes you paralyzed so you don't act out your dreams.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's
I had a girlfriend once who would get sleep paralysis, and I could tell because her breathing would change, so I'd have to like wake her up, and then eventually she just stopped because I think it was stress related.
Oh,
So-
it had to be for me because at that time I was the most stressed out in my life with my job and everything else going on, and I had very short sleep periods, like 4-hour sleep periods every day. It was just 16-hour days every day. So
Yeah.
like
Her-
7 days in a row.
Her breathing would just get like more intense and like heavier and then like faster, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to wake up.
Yeah, I didn't have anyone with me, but I wonder, it had to have been the same for me. It's crazy shit, but thankfully all that stuff stopped. But
Yeah, because you can't even like close your eyes or open up, or like
you can't. Like,
just
I
stuck.
wanted to fight back, but I
Yeah.
couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
I
you
was
can't.
just frozen. Yeah, that's
You
crazy.
can't move your feet. You can't scream. You can't do anything.
You can't do anything. You can't talk. Yeah,
It's
you don't even
crazy.
feel yourself breathing. It's really nuts. Yeah.
My brother was sleeping and he had a mirror across from his bed. This was at my house growing up. And he said he like woke up and there was like a shadow coming out of the mirror towards him. And he was probably like 13. He went through a phase where he was swearing all the time. And he tried to convince my mom and the doctor that he had Tourette's so he could just get away with it. So he was really used to swearing. So he sees this black thing, like shadow coming towards him, and he just goes, "Fuck you!" And he says it just went shoop, back into the mirror. He said he never saw anything again. It's like, so that's how you deal with ghosts and demons. You say, "Fuck you."
Well,
It's like a
funny.
bully. You stand up to him once and he never comes back.
Well, that
Well,
movie,
they used
The
to have when I was a
Conjuring,
kid.
talks about that, about how like the spirit will like weigh down on you, and it preys on people who are depressed and aren't healthy, and it's like a predator looking for like the weakest.
So that just sounds like the human mind
Thing
in
in the
general
brain. It
attacking
is,
itself.
True, yeah,
But
but
back
they
in
say
the day, they must have believed it was demons and ghosts and all that shit.
yeah, but they don't attack the strong. They attack, because it's easier to. You want to get the sick, the old,
like a predator.
the weakened gazelle, as
Yeah.
opposed to the strongest gazelle. If they were real, who knows?
I think the more I study about the human mind, the more. That's why it's just like the magic of life disappears when you study something. I feel, and you really like. I get the impression like everything is really just easy to understand if you really just think about it. If you don't try to dissect everything down to its molecule, it's really just easy to understand. Like that's just the universe. That's the way life is. You know what I mean? A flower is a flower. A star is a star.
So you think?
Yeah. What else can I do but think? I have nothing else to vet it with.
It's all simulation. None of it
That'd
matters.
be fine too.
Do you think this is a simulation?
I don't know. Whenever I hear about that stuff, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you're in a simulation, it's still real to you, regardless of if it's fabricated or not. So your choices and decisions still matter.
Yeah.
Is it Hindu?
The
or
question is
Buddhist?
if you believe it, if it's a simulation.
Well, is it Hindu or Buddhist that have the dreaming god? That all reality is the.
Oh, I think that's
dream of
Hindu,
the god.
right? Because
Hindu,
it would be Brahma, and we're all part
Yeah,
of Brahma.
Buddhism doesn't have a god.
Right. Yeah, Hindu has all the different gods. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was pretty wild. Like, a god is dreaming and we're what he dreams. And when he
Yeah,
wakes
well, I
up,
like
it
that
all
idea
ends.
of like a spirit, like we're just all one spirit that's trying to experience as many different facets of this existence. So you die, and then this little piece of spirit that is in you goes into another. Like, I like the idea of reincarnation throughout time. So instead of just you die and then you're reborn, in the year 2021, you die and all of a sudden you're a baby in 1312, and you experience however long that life is. Maybe you only live to be 3, maybe you live to be 40, and then you die, and then you're somewhere else in time. So it's all throughout, and the whole idea is that all these
time's
spirits
all happening at once.
yeah,
So
it's
you
all
could-
happening at
you-
once,
yeah.
and the spirit or whatever this thing is, life, the spark of life, wants to experience every different possible scenario. So like, I want to experience being like a really rich, spoiled kid in New York, and then now I want to experience being a really poor child in
You're
Southern
straight up-
Africa or something.
that falls in line with the again, I don't know if it's Hindu or Buddhist, but the belief that you are a god, right? So like Alan Watts is the first person I heard this description from. Is basically he poses this, like, posits the following, that you have the powers of a god. So what would you do with it? Well, first you'd put basically bliss on tap, right? You would experience every pleasure you could imagine. And then after, let's say, a couple months of that, you'd want to be surprised. You wouldn't want full control anymore. You'd like to be surprised, be impressed, in other words. Because you can't be impressed really with your own imagination because you get used to it, right?
True.
So eventually that would turn into more and more surprises. And the longer it went on, you'd reach a point where the use of your power would be so nuanced that you'd be imagining the life you are now, and then that you would just go from one mundane life to another, because that's more interesting than your limitless pleasure. Let's say, right? Because you're
if you
redefining-
experience nothing but happiness, you plateau, and now it's no longer happiness.
What's the end? What's the end of your mind? If even in an immortal god's mind, if you constantly record, you memorize every experience, then the repetition of that experience makes it boring.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting thought that we're all just gods, either in our own simulations, or we're mixing each other's, or we're all just one god.
Yeah, I believe that we're all our own god, in the sense of that you control everything you do, and you can make life. And you need another god to make life, but you can still do it.
I mean, humans
For
are
now,
do that
yeah.
eventually. We'll eventually reach a point where we
and with
life.
technology and how much ability we have to manipulate our own world,
Sure.
I believe that you are your own god, and you control every aspect in your life. Like, you have the ability to choose.
The threads of fate spin out from you.
The threads of your fate spit out for you.
That's
You-
what I mean.
yeah.
The first person I meant that.
Yeah,
Well, it's interesting.
that's my idea.
I think we're dirt. I think we're just stardust.
We're stardust.
We're
Yeah,
stardust.
we have
We're
straight up carbon.
stardust and atoms.
Yeah, that's why I believe, at least in my
I like
life,
to believe that when I'm depressed and I'm not feeling good about life,
Yeah.
then I'm like, we're nothing. Nothing matters. And then I feel really good. I'm like, oh, it matters. It all matters now.
I think, that's what makes life an emergency, like an emergency to me, right? Because once you realize the fact that you're not immortal, even though you live as though you are, right? Then the little things that bother us become so trivial.
Mhm.
And you realize that, like, there's nothing really to worry about. What are you really worrying about when you worry,
True.
So you can just live this exciting life where hopefully you don't hurt people or yourself, but you are brave and confident in new experiences.
Mhm.
And who knows, I don't know. It could all be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't matter, because all I know is what I can experience.
Right.
Like you said, what I think. That's all I've got. These are the only tools I have.
I think, therefore I am.
Yeah, they only work in the physical realm. So if there were other realms, they would need different tools. And I don't have access to them.
Well, yet.
For now.
Yeah, maybe yet. Yeah.
Just wait for the AI to explode. That's all we need. We just need general super intelligence, and then it'll make our lives.
Oh, here we go.
infinitely
We're
better.
falling back into AI. We always come
I
back
know,
to
but
AI.
that's what I want.
He wants it so bad.
I
If
do.
they can make, so since there's no haunted houses really this year because of COVID, imagine if they've got like the super realistic robot AI, like imagine those haunted houses, like the crazy shit, because they can just like rip off the head of one and be like, "Wah!" and like do
Well-
like gory stuff in
What
your
if you
face.
did a full dive?
Well, that's what he means, right? Like just
Instead
fully
of like going
simulated.
somewhere, yeah, you have a simulation.
Like you're in a matrix.
So you have more
so
of a,
yeah,
of a,
so you
gen-
don't
a
have to-
generated in your mind.
Yeah, how horrific would that be?
Oh God.
Yeah, you literally cannot escape. There's no exit unless they.
Well, that's why
devise
that's
it.
the scary
But-
thing about it. What
Yes,
if because
yes.
it's like tripping? What if it turns into a bad trip? What if you
Yeah.
resist the simulation? What will happen then?
Excitement.
Yeah, to say the least, lobotomy.
Well, yeah, you'll end up like the guy in
You'll-
Black
you'll
Mirror,
melt
the one
your
who
brain.
has like the space crew. You ever see that
Oh,
episode?
the
no.
space crew. Okay.
Yeah, he's got like it's like a game that you can play in your mind, and he's like has all these people. He clones people from work so that he replicates them as like AI in his brain, and they overthrow him and escape, and then they screw him over, and he somehow ends up in like dead space, and then he goes brain dead because his little avatar in his brain is stuck in the simulation.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I mean, he was a
wait
dick.
minute,
He
I did see
deserved
that.
it.
Yeah.
but-
Oh, that's right. Because like I said, the Star Trek crew. It's kind of like
yeah.
Yeah. And then they use that for another episode, don't they? Where it's like
A few
video
episodes,
game?
yeah.
Yeah.
Games in their mind
Like
where they
he
just like
programs it at
sit
home.
there on the
I
couch,
did
lifeless.
see that. Yeah, I forgot that was Black Mirror.
Yeah.
The Black
That
Mirror has a
show.
lot of cool things. They have a lot of interesting ideas.
Mm.
So how did you guys celebrate Halloween as a kid?
Oh, I'll let Camden go first on that.
Well, my parents would take us to our neighbor's house and leave us there for 3 hours. Mr. Dorgan's, he'd take us through his haunted hell. I blocked out most of the memories, but no, we just dressed up and went around the neighborhood. My mom made these awesome Power Ranger costumes for my brother and I.
Oh, really?
She made me the Green
Go, go,
Ranger
Power
with like
Ranger.
the gold like thing that goes around his shoulders.
Yeah, like the cowl.
And I wasn't allowed to watch Power Rangers because it was too violent. So one of the neighbors was telling my mom, "Oh yeah, did you hear the Green Ranger is now the White Ranger?" And she's like, "Don't say anything."
Dragon shit.
Yeah, so
Well,
it's
the
actually
Green
funny.
Ranger was evil.
My brother had these Blue Ranger slippers that he wore to kindergarten one day, and at the end of the day, when the teacher was coming to bring him to my mom's car, she brought out the slippers, and she was like, Jacob can't wear these anymore because when he put them on, he started kicking all the other kids, and when we told him to stop, he said that the Blue Ranger was doing it. So yeah, that's why they're like, we can't let them actually watch the show.
Their nerdiest ranger.
Yeah,
the
right?
least likely to get in a
Yeah.
fight.
You get
But he was
violent
the
from
Blue Ranger
Power
for
Rangers.
Halloween. I was the Green Ranger. Yeah, we did the average, normal Halloween stuff.
That's cool.
Haunted hay rides. I don't know if they do those out here.
They still do that.
Those
Yeah.
are huge
I used
in
to-
New England.
Oh, really?
I used to
So
volunteer
fun.
every year. Well, I did it for like 3 or 4 years in a row where I'd go to like a campground like Yogi Bear, usually with my uncle, and we would camp for the weekend, and then we would volunteer in the haunted forest or the haunted,
That'd be cool.
the haunted hay rides, the haunted forest. Oh, it was fun. I used to scare people all the time. It was such a blast.
That's cool. I didn't really celebrate Halloween as a
Why?
kid. It wasn't allowed.
Why?
Religious reasons.
Really?
My father, I think, and probably my mom too.
What religion doesn't allow Halloween?
Christianity. Because
Really?
it's a devil holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up with Eastern
All
Orthodox,
Hallows.
and they were totally fine with
well,
that.
All Hallows Eve is All Saints Day Eve, right? It's the eve of All Saints Day. But it was co-opted by the church. Halloween was because it used to be Samhain, right, which was practiced by druids and other pagans.
see.
Like
Those
that.
pagans.
Yeah, so he also didn't like Christmas, my father, but he allowed Christmas.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, pretty much. Mostly because it didn't celebrate. It wasn't really what people kind of said it was, which was trying to say it was Jesus' birthday.
Well, it
which
was a
wouldn't
pagan
have been.
holiday.
And
What, like you said,
again, it was
co-opted
also
again
it was
by
one of those reasons as
Christians.
well. So what we would do as
Allegedly.
kids is we would go to what's it called? We go to like a restaurant like Lino's, which is an Italian restaurant. And then my mom gave me like a movie. So it was almost like we didn't celebrate Halloween like anyone else did. We didn't
So you
we
didn't
didn't dress
trick-or-treat?
up and we didn't trick or treat. I wasn't allowed to eat sugar as a kid either because I was allergic and it would just make me more hyper than other kids.
They told you were allergic?
Yeah, which
Wow.
it's
Yeah,
true
I mean,
because
it's-
I did the skin tests too.
Oh, so you're actually
So I
you can
was-
actually be allergic to it?
Yeah, and you can have different
That's
reactions.
terrible. How do you eat anything then?
And
How
yet
do you
you're-
survive childhood?
Well, because I was allowed to have up to 4 grams of sugar. So like some things I could eat, but other things I couldn't. Like some even chips, I wasn't allowed to eat.
I feel like that's a favor, though.
Yeah,
Like,
it really
if I
was.
had that
It
growing
kept
up-
me a thin child. I was pretty active, and I didn't eat.
Yeah,
you
'cause,
know.
man, I have.
But I mean, now
struggled with that.
I'm like addicted to sugar now.
Well,
like I
I
can't
can
stop eating
imagine.
it. I love it. It's
And does it
delicious.
affect you though? Do you get allergic reactions to it?
It
when
just
you eat
made me
now?
more hyper than other kids. You know, it was more of an energy thing, and I was not a very well self-disciplined child. I got into a lot of trouble. In school they had to make like this card that I had to get. It was like a rating system of how well I behaved, and if I got all 5s all week, we would go to the movies. So I had to be real good in class. So I was just
very
disruptive.
draconian of your school.
I was just disruptive, you know.
Yeah, but I
I
kinda
wasn't
like
very.
it too at the same time.
I wasn't necessarily violent, even though I did start a gang, and well, because
Gangs don't have to be violent.
I was violent, but it wasn't necessarily because I was.
You were the
violent.
muscle.
I was the muscle actually. So in the gang, what it was is that we got tired of being bullied, and we felt that teachers weren't really doing anything. So we would. I would be told. My friend would get information from other kids about who was bullying and who was bullying who. So I would go beat up the bully during recess. It was kind of funny because then my friend would give me cake or whatever the dessert was that the school would get, you know, for lunch, and I would eat that, and I would have more energy.
Here's some cake.
So I would
some for your
soup up
mother.
on Venom, you know, from like Batman.
There was a kid,
But I
in
was
my high
not
school
allowed to
that you could
celebrate
pay to
Halloween.
beat up, but he'd beat up anyone. He would fight anyone. I don't know if he actually.
Like people
had
would
any-
pay him to beat.
People would pay him to beat
So he was like
somebody
an
up.
assassin.
Yeah, but it was because the way you described it, Zach, about like being in a gang. That's kind of how it was. Like, no one ever paid him to go beat up some dweeb or whatever, or
Yeah.
some poor weak kid. Like it was
Because
always.
you can do that yourself.
It was
Do
always,
it for
yeah,
free.
it was always just like some friend of a friend's group, you know, like he drank his
Yeah.
beer or he stole his lunch money or whatever, and then, yeah.
Yeah, and then we were also, you know, grew up pretty poor. So sometimes we would do carving pumpkins, but not every year. And it was only when my grandparents would buy pumpkins. And my favorite part was when my mom would like do the pumpkin seeds and like cook
Yeah.
them and roast them. Oh, that was
man.
delicious. Homemade pumpkin seeds.
Oh,
like,
dude, I used to love
like
that.
the-
Salt them and shit.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
It's good old Halloween, man.
Yeah.
Halloween this year. This is the saddest Halloween.
I was
I've
gonna say,
ever
what do you
had.
guys do now as adults?
We usually like I've amped it up every year as an adult for Halloween. You know, like up and down, but I always love
Yeah,
Halloween. is
your
like my Christmas.
Beetlejuice was like movie quality Beetlejuice.
Thank you,
It was
man. Yeah, no,
amazing.
I love doing like a really cool costume, and for me, Halloween is like a week. You know, it's parties and dressing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed the parties this year.
Yeah, ever since I left after high school, I celebrated Halloween. Then I would like dress up and go to parties and
College
and stuff.
Halloween, because I went to school in the city, and the city, I mean, the whole area was like Lakeview by Wrigley. Just the streets were just filled with people dressed
shit
up,
was
and
fun.
you know,
See, I
all
went
the
to a
slutty
lame
college
art
girls
school
and-
in Schaumburg, so they didn't really. The people there were very introverted, so we didn't really have good.
No, I
parties.
used to live over there. I was in Uptown, like I was on Lawrence Avenue and Marine Drive. So yeah, for when I had my apartment in the city, then I'd go south. You know, oh man, on Halloween night, the bars were just insane.
The L
amount of
train too
people.
at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
That like Saturday. Oh my god.
I used to
Yeah.
wait for the train at 3 o'clock in the morning because you could only get on the red, like everything else was shut down.
Red line was
You met the most
party.
interesting people. I witnessed some of the most interesting, like little. I call them like little life events. I don't know. Maybe there's a better term for that. You know, like one time, one that sticks out right now is I was. This wasn't particularly Halloween though it might have been. But I remember I was really drunk and I was taking the train back to my apartment, and this guy, he looked like a courier, but it was, you know, in the middle of the night, so he's a night courier or whatever. He gets on the train and takes his bike on, like, you know, they did it all the time, right? And there was this drunk girl that was just like talking herself, and I was kind of like this like silent night, like I was watching her to make sure no one would go over there and fuck with her, you know, because I'm like, man, anybody could take advantage of this woman right now, you know. And this guy, you know, that got on with his bike, he just looked like a total normal dude. Well, as soon as he saw him, she like latched on him and she started like groping this guy, and she was all over him. But he was just okay with it. So now I felt like he was the victim. I'm like, man, you don't know who she is. You know, like, wait, she's drunk and she's
protect her.
Well, yeah, and,
Who do I
and they
protect
left.
now?
They left together. He was all smiles. She was flashing him and touching him, and I'm just like, you know, it's like a young. I'll admit, like at the time, I was a little jealous. I'm like, would she come over and do that to me? But
You didn't have your
wanna
long
be a
hair, though,
no,
did you?
but later, like an older Mark was like, yeah, that you don't want that because you don't know. Just because it's female, you don't know where it's been.
Yeah.
Excuse me, ma'am. I haven't been touched in a few months.
Kosher?
Are you kosher? Are you are you cut? Is what I'm asking. You know, I need to know. Don't want no hood, no turtle hoods. No, thank you, sir.
It's a real horror story.
Turtle heads. Turtle heads are the.
Wait, so like
the
you've never trick or treated at all?
I have, but not like very once in a while. Right? It was when my mom could. I think is what it was. Could convince my dad to let me. And I always do enjoy like making my own costumes and things like that.
We're gonna take you trick or treating next year. This
Will
is
you?
our son Zach.
I've been trick or treating for the castle though.
So you got paid to trick or treat.
Yeah, so that was pretty fun.
I forgot in college they did liquor treat. So they had 4 houses and you'd go to each one and get like a shot at each house. And then the final house was like the big party. Good old days.
This is like the first year and since I graduated high school, so since 2010 that I didn't really celebrate Halloween.
Well,
so
you got your makeup on right now.
So now I put makeup on today for the no video podcast, so everyone could listen to me and my
take a picture
feel
of
the scariness of my makeup.
You brought the spirit with you, which is
did.
good. It's a day after, but it's okay.
It is. It was a lot cheaper that way. It was 50% off to buy all this makeup.
That is
smart.
everything's
on sale day.
Yeah, it was nice.
Good point.
It's like buying candy after Valentine's Day.
Oh man,
or after Halloween.
Dude, or after go to Walgreens after Easter and after Halloween.
Oh, man.
Go to Walgreens.
Dude, my favorite thing for Halloween is Reese's though. They have like the best like
Reese's Pieces or just normal Reese's?
Like Reese's cups. Like and they got the pumpkin ones and those are really good. My favorite ratio for Reese's is the smaller cups because they have the best chocolate to peanut butter ratio for sure.
Yeah.
And then when you freeze them, and then you bite it, and then it just separates in your mouth. Oh, delicious.
Yeah, well, I mean, any version of a Reese's, I think, is delicious.
Right, but I'm saying the best ratio is the smaller cupped ones. They have the best. Yeah, they have the best.
Peanut butter in the bigger ones. I like that though.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Filler.
See, I like I don't know. I just like the ratio.
You know
I
what
think
I
the
used to do
ratio
when I was a
is
kid? When we'd be
point.
like sharing candy after Halloween, like our haul.
Oh,
we'd
okay.
go out more than once. Like we'd fill up, like the old school. Like we used pillowcases because they were strong. They could hold a lot of heavy ass candy.
Not
That
these
shit
pillowcases.
got heavy. We'd fill it up. We'd bring it home. We'd go back out.
Different costumes? Or
No.
same
So
costume?
like we were actually pretty. I thought we were cool about it. We wouldn't hit the same houses and we wouldn't change costumes. So we just went further. You know,
Yeah,
it was
I
like,
see what you're
'cause,
saying.
Yeah, we didn't want to go back to the same house and be like, oh, we're back for more. Because
So did you find like the good houses and who had
we
the
did.
king size?
Yeah, I mean, we knew our neighborhood, man. I mean, and this is like, I mean, trick or treating in the country. When trick or treating in the city was different, way different.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, how does that work?
Well,
do you like just go to JC Penney's and be like trick or treat
well, you went to a lot of apartment buildings.
apartments?
Yeah,
Okay.
and people would just either have their door open or closed. I remember one time, it was across the street from us. There was this couple. They didn't have any kids, but they clearly wanted them, and they turned
Like
their
to
entire
take kids like off the street or
not like a
adopt?
witches, but like to like have children.
We
Yeah.
want kids.
like
Yeah.
Brothers Grimm
They had a
style.
big sign because we want your kids. Bring them in. No, but they made their entire apartment into a haunted house.
That's fun.
And it was really cool. And they were inviting people up from the street to go in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of like
That's back in the
people
day,
in the
though. That's
suburbs
like
that will
back
do
in
that
the
with their
80s.
garages
Yeah.
too. They'll like
Yeah.
create a haunted house in their garage.
We did
like
that
to
one
do
year.
that.
Yeah, we made like a mini maze and stuff. I used to
Yeah.
love doing that. You
That's
know,
cool stuff.
and
Now they'd have to sign a waiver.
dude,
wear
it
a
was
mask.
so. It's just like I think
If
the
you
word
get
sterile
COVID,
is
you
proper
can't
for the
sue
year,
us.
and like how things are. Because like walking around my neighborhood, looking at how people had their table set up and they got gloves and their masks outside. It's like that looks like a costume to me,
Yeah.
but they're just trying to be safe.
Yeah. Did you guys ever participate in like Devil's Night or like Mischief Night or whatever you want to
Well,
call
we
it?
always So when we became teenagers, at least me and my friends growing up, right after we were done trick or treating, we would go and cause a lot of damage.
Really?
Oh yeah. But we were. I mean, we did things I'm not proud of now, of course, but we weren't like your typical smash the pumpkins or TP a house. We did that stuff, but we amped it up quite a bit more. I mean, we would burn down mailboxes.
Did you really?
Yeah, with rubber cement.
Did you know
'cause it
that's
burned like
that's
Greek
why they
fire.
created
Like, it
that's why
burned
they
forever.
created Halloween as what it is trick or treating and games and things
Yeah.
like that now is because of Devil's Night, which was like it was Halloween, but there was no like organized system like there was no parties, there was
Oh
no,
well, it
like,
didn't help either.
So what they would do is that they would just like do pranks and they would like they would like burn warehouse buildings down. Like the Great Depression was like one of the worst. Like 1931, it was like one of the worst years.
Oh, we
for
pranked
Halloween.
you. My
They
building.
exactly. They like burned down like buildings,
just a prank,
and
bro.
they would disassemble cars and reassemble them and up on like people's roofs and stuff like that. Well, you know, cars back then were like 3 pieces.
What? 3 pieces.
3 pieces of like.
Well, you know, they
tank.
just like do weird things like that. They'd put things on people's roofs, and they would do a bunch of like, and they'd be really destructive, breaking
Paint the
windows.
cows and
Yeah.
tie the goats' tails together.
Yeah, I don't
think goats' tails are long enough to tie together. Maybe
Back
the
then,
hair.
back then they
Back
were.
then they let them grow.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, they didn't
genetically
dock
they
'em.
shortened the tails
Oh,
for unknown
Domestic reasons.
Yeah,
Well,
I
why
think
is
it's
that?
aesthetic.
Did you guys ever do any Devil's Night
no,
stuff?
I did
No.
once as a senior as a senior in high school, and it was just to TP the school's like trees, because that's what the seniors do every
Yeah.
year.
Mm.
It's the seniors thing. It was like
Yeah.
you know.
No, man, we did a lot of damage.
No, I never did any of
Well,
that.
when-
I was too of a. I didn't want my mom to be disappointed in me, you know. So I didn't want to get caught and then get in trouble.
Oh, I
and,
give my mother so much
and then
credit.
like my mother be disappointed in what my actions. That was what was kept me good. This was fear of my mother's
Fear of
disappointment.
disappointment.
Oh, we drove.
It's a powerful
We
fear.
drove our mother nuts. It was insane. How she put up with us, I'll never know. I thank her to this day for it. That's
Because
for
she
sure.
had to.
I think-
She had no
I think-
choice.
Parents that stick around are probably the strongest human beings in the world.
Hey, she made us drunk too. You know, I remember. Oh man, this is like a deep memory. I must have been like 8 years old, and I'm in the back of my grandfather's Monte Carlo, and he's in the front seat. My mother's driving. It's her father. And it's a summer day, and the windows are down, and just these 2 punk ass kids are walking on the sidewalk, and I don't know what they were saying, but the one kid nearest, you know, to the car like quipped, "Yo, you could be like a loser, like the kid in that car," and he pointed at me, and I'm just like laid back, totally chill, vibing in the back of this Monte Carlo, and I looked over and I gave him like a look, like, "You're a loser," whatever. Like it
You're
had
a
no
loser.
effect on me, but what did have effect on me is my mother turned around like excited and wide eyed, and she wanted to do something, but she looked at me, and then finally she looked, you know, she said, she's like, "Well, what are you going to be, a pussy when you grow up?" And I'm like. And it hit me so hard. I'm like, wait a minute, am I pussy? Wait, I'm not a pussy. No. And then so I didn't have time to like respond to those kids. But from that moment on, like that set a track in my mind. Like, you were never gonna be a pussy. Don't let anybody.
Yeah,
make
but
fun
that
of you.
sounds dangerous in the same sense.
It could have
It's
been.
like
Well, it may have put me on track
if you're
to
in a
be
car,
the
you'll be
violent
safe.
teenager that I was. So.
that's what it sounds like. It's like then you're just always constantly
But
defending
my
your
mother's a good
masculinity,
mother.
right?
She wanted me to be strong. That's
Yeah,
what
but
she
you
meant.
can be strong by letting things go and just being like, just like not letting people get to you, dude.
Yeah.
I
What's the one thing
I'm
in
pretty
school
sure
you
it
never
changed-
learn?
What's the one thing I never learned in school? Wait, what?
How to be a parent. There's no class for it.
Yes, there is.
In
It's
public
called
school.
child development.
No, you have to.
Well, that's how
want
you
to go to
develop a
that.
child.
No one gives you tips. Most people, it's like sex. Well, no, sex. At least there's sex ed. Like, there's no like parent ed.
Yes, there is. There's
Even home
plenty
ed,
of books.
Even home
I'm
ed
not
is
saying that none
not-
of it's correct
not-
or any of it's like not contradictory. It is. A lot of it is like
It's
contradictory,
just
and it's
not
hard to
done in real.
decide out what is the best thing because everyone has their own opinion. But there's plenty of classes, and there's a lot of psychology classes too in college.
Well, you're
that
talking
teach you about-
college. You're paying for that. I'm
But
talking
even
about
in
the
high school, in
No,
high school we
you have to go
had
further
childhood
back than
development
that.
classes.
You got to go further back than that. If you want to affect a child's mind, you got to hit me at level 8.
No, but how to be a
At age
parent
8.
is what I'm saying.
Huh?
How to be a parent. There's child development classes and how to be a
I
good
don't know
parent.
if you guys had that, but we didn't have that.
We didn't have
That did not
We had
exist
sex ed. That's
in my
it.
school.
They teach you how to become a parent. So you put this in
Don't
this,
they
and
teach you
then
not
9
to
months
become a
later,
parent, though?
a thing happens.
No,
but
that's not becoming a parent. Well, that's how to create
That's
a
how
child.
to. Right, but that's how to
being a
become.
parent.
Well, but you're becoming a parent once you have a child.
I'm thinking. I guess I'm.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You mean how to be a good parent.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
but
be an
there
effective parent,
there
yeah.
is classes in high
They
school.
exist, but there, in my opinion, this is something that should be like part of a child's development. Is what kind of people they'll be, what kind of parents they'll be, and it doesn't exist.
But I don't think
there's
there's really any classes that teach you how to be a person.
There
That I agree
isn't
with.
that either. We didn't have that.
Yeah,
You just
I
kind
think that that's what the school
It's up to the
environment's supposed to
parents.
do is to teach you how to be a person and
I
teach you
think
how
they
to deal with
should.
others.
You gotta be a person first before you can be a parent.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I think they just rely on you just learn from your parents. That's the idea.
Well, that's how it is.
So if you have bad parents or no parents, you know, it's going to be harder for you.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to have my own kids, because my parents did such a good job. I was like, well, I can't do that. So it's like, I might as well just not. Like, I'll be a step parent, you know. So then there's, you know, if she grows up weird, it's not. I can say, oh well.
Well, I wonder then if they feel like they failed somehow with you, because
their goal shouldn't be for me to grow up and have
why not?
My own kids.
They want
that's how they survive.
Yeah,
they survive through you and your kids.
Like, I think
they survive until they die. They're not. Their genetics isn't. That stuff's silly. But no, I think a parent should want their child to be happy, and that's it. If having kids makes your child happy, then you know they can do that. And I'm sure my parents are disappointed that I'm not going to have my own kids.
They're disappointed in not being a grandparent from you.
Yeah, but they have my brother.
That's what they want.
They got my brother for that. They have a lot of nieces and nephews and all that stuff, so I'm not too worried about it. But the genetics thing, also the last name thing, it's like, oh, Brown, we really gotta.
Dude, you're gonna go extinct. You guys are the Brown families.
The last name Brown's not
that's
really.
That's like getting a good name in an MMO. Like, no one can take that name now unless they marry into it. So you should be happy that you have a solid last name like that. I mean, Brown. That's American. Brown. It's elemental to color, man.
I'll take
the color.
It's sewn into the American
does
flag.
Brown mean anything? Does Brown? Do you know? Does it mean anything beyond? Is it like Brown? Is it Welsh for something maybe? Besides the color.
When I researched it, it was like it came from like Brune, which is like Norman for brown. Because allegedly back in the old days, they came up with last names to make it easier to tax people, so they could tell who was who. And so people are just like, they procrastinated,
Brown.
Didn't think of the last name, and then the day comes, they're like, so what do you put for your last name? My hair is brown. Brown, you're going to go with Brown? Yes. You sure? You just want to go with Brown? You can make something up, something cool, like I can't spell that, so I'll do Brown. All right, cool. You're
That's
Brown.
how I do a lot
Forever.
of passwords and emails. Like, I can't spell any of these words I want to, so I'll just spell the 3 words I know.
You should just misspell the words you can't
but then
spell.
I'll misspell it wrong again. You know, I'll misspell it like in a different way. I won't spell it my same way twice.
You change it every time.
Yeah, however I think it sounds that day.
Just copy it down.
Yeah, I do like my last name though, which is Wigand. It means like professional warrior. So I get paid to fight, which is awesome.
Oh,
that's my
you're a merc.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a good last name.
But are you actually fighting though?
One of the reasons I had a physical therapist whose name was also Wigan, but the E and the I were opposite than mine. So they were just switched around, which it does mean the same thing as my name. But that was the main one of the main reasons I chose to go to that physical therapist is because she had the same last name as mine. I'm like, this is funny, and I must do it. And she also worked out for like her stuff there. What they provided was better than the other one.
So if you got married, do you think would she just keep her own last name, and then people would just get really confused because you got to switch the E and I.
If the physical therapist and I got married.
Yeah.
No, she would have to switch. No, but she could do what she wants.
Or she could hyphenate it.
But my son would have to have my last name for sure.
Well, how important is the last name to you?
To me, it would just have to be my children. If my wife doesn't have to take my last name, but I would want my children to have my last my name.
What if that was the deal breaker for the woman of your dreams?
I mean,
She wouldn't be the woman of his dreams.
Let's see.
Yeah,
I would have to weigh it in the situation, but I mean, now I would say, well, consciously, I would have to say that's a silly reason not to work out. So I would have.
That's what it is. That's what it comes down to. I feel like more often than not is silly fucking reasons why shit goes sour, because it's the little things about people that we defend
the little things that build upon the other little things, right?
And your idiosyncrasies, your little, like when people get busted up about, where you leave a toothbrush or how much the windows open at night. It's the little shit that bugs us, right? Because that's what we take personal, right? Everything else is like a part of the macro space, if you want to call it that. I don't know, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, well, to me, it's just like when the little things build up and you don't talk about it, and then it all of a sudden just blows up into this like combined bomb of other issues that weren't even the main issue. If you just talked about them before,
you need communication and everything, man. Every relationship, friendship, your significant other, your children, your friends, work, everything. And you know what I find is that it also establishes a sort of dominance. Not the kind of dominance that, say, like a dictator would have, but the dominance that you gain from the respect it gives you that other people have to consider when you're around them, right?
Right.
And that's really important. I think everybody should have that too. You know, because
Well,
if
and
we're
it just
all
makes
just
you look more
islands of our own
confident too. If you're able
confidence,
to come up and discuss an issue,
Yes.
right? If you just makes you look more in control, more.
yeah,
better,
that there needs to be like line drawing is very important. You have to let people know when they cross a line. You know,
Yeah.
even in the smallest
Yeah.
way.
No.
I'm not saying bite someone's head off, but I find it's very important for communicating properly.
Yeah, that's why we're all arm distance away. That's the reason, because you can't be in that kiss me or
5 feet
kill
I thought that was
part.
because of
Hot tub.
COVID.
No, it's because kiss me or kill me range and don't go near there.
I had an acting teacher who always said in scenes, if you get within, a foot or two of another person in a scene, she's like, you better be fighting or fucking. And if
Yeah.
you're not, fucking get away from each other. Because
Yeah.
dramatically just so uninteresting. Obviously in film it's different, but on stage, you see people
Well, yeah,
right up
so
on
much
each other.
negative
What's
space.
unnerving?
If they're not fighting
Yeah.
or fucking or kissing or something, then it's just like, what are you doing?
What's happening?
Yeah. The more space. I had a stage combat teacher too who said more space between you was more. There's more danger because there's more potential for if you're both like someone we're fighting at the castle. Like that's why they kind of, in my mind, that's why they harped on us about keeping distance, because if you're right up close to each other, it's like, why don't you just stab the guy in the neck?
Well,
You know?
that, and
Yeah,
it just
but you
looks,
have
it
that-
looks weaker too when
Yeah,
you're so close.
but the distance creates the danger because you're like, oh shit, there's something that can happen. There's space between them. A lot can happen in that space.
Yeah, the further you are too as an audience member, it makes a difference. When you're too close, I can't tell what's going on. Like the smaller actions aren't noticeable. So when you're further away, the larger actions are very noticeable.
Yeah.
The big swings, the big stepping,
That's what I learned in animation is the back and forth.
Yeah.
You got to have for every motion forward, you got to have another motion that goes backward that precedes it.
Yeah.
And then it just illustrates the Nachi
Yeah.
of it all.
Definitely. So Zach, you know what I think would be a really good costume for you on Halloween? And maybe it's
Anything tall,
I mean it's
Dark
a
and
little on the
scary.
nose idea, but I think you should do a lurch
a lurch.
or a Frankenstein.
I did do a Slender Man before. Before Slender Man was cool too. Like
Yeah,
he was
but
still
that's-
obscure when I did it,
you know what?
and it
You've
was
got
it
a lot
it
of
looked good.
interesting. Your bone structure is interesting. It's very like prominent. So that's why I think you should do like a Frankenstein or
Oh, so just like extend the brow and sunk in
Yeah,
the
just-
eyes kind of thing.
that's all that. Yeah, I mean,
That could work.
I think you'd have fun with that. Or you know what you could do too is like a David Lopan from Big Trouble in Little China. I could totally.
I
see
do have
you
I have a
doing
reface
Yeah.
of that, and it turned out pretty good. So I could do that one. I have a scraggly enough facial hair to
Shut
pull it
up,
off.
Mr. Button. I think you should do that next year. We're
Yeah.
planning from November 1st.
I'll just go around doing the pinky wars too. When he's got his pinkies
You
crossed
gotta
and
get
he's fighting
his
the other
quotes.
dude.
I think you could pull off his quotes too.
Trying to think. I can't think of any of his quotes right now.
You just got to squeeze your voice a little bit, because the actor who does that, he has pretty deep voice.
Oh, really?
When he makes
'cause
when
he has a
squeezes
really-
it sounds. That's how he gets the David Lopan voice going.
Yeah, I'll have to listen to his quotes sometime because I can't think of any right now.
You just watch the movie, man. You
Yeah.
don't have to listen to anything. Just bring up the movie on whatever service that it's playing on.
I actually bought it at a bargain bin for like $5. I was going to give it to someone for Christmas because it's like a locker room
Give it to
tradition.
yourself.
I know I might. I think I'm
Give it to
gonna.
yourself for Christmas.
I got it last year though, so
So
it's
this
already
Christmas is coming up, man.
old. Yeah, true.
Get excited about the gift you bought
Don't
yourself.
remind me.
Well, you don't like Christmas?
There's this whole year is so depressing that
No.
Christmas, it's like, even Thanksgiving is gonna be like, ooh.
Are you not? You're not doing anything. You're not. This is like perfect because there's no work right now, so you can. Well, I guess you're
I'm
working.
still
yeah.
working. Yeah. I mean, it'll be nice not doing a parade for a year.
That's
mix
awesome.
things
Not
up.
waking up at 6 in the or
Yeah,
getting to the city at 6 in the morning in the
Yeah.
freezing.
It was cool once we got to the city, but yeah, that getting up early and all that was always.
Getting up early.
And then doing a
sucked.
show after
Once it
that.
faded,
Yeah.
that's the real punch is that show after the parade. That
So
sucks.
it'll be nice to just I'll probably still work that day, but it'll be different.
You just do a one-man parade to
One-man
nobody
parade.
downtown.
We were talking like we should just go downtown and like wear costumes and do like, this is a parade for medieval times. People would be like, what are you doing? Like, we just want to work.
Just get a horse.
Dude, if you, I was gonna say, if you just walked with a horse down there, that'd be perfect. That's probably the most publicity they'll get in a while. I mean, can't go there right now, but
Yeah.
Unless you go to Arizona, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to do Thanksgiving parades. Well, they probably canceled them everywhere, I'm
All
assuming.
parades, yeah, they're
Even
no
in the
doing
South.
Parades. Yeah,
Yeah.
the parades are done. I mean, I don't know. There's definitely places in the country where people are still doing that stuff.
Oh,
There's certain
dude.
towns and cities where people don't
that's
care
how
about
that's how the Spanish flu blew up in America. It was in New Jersey. They were like, yeah, you guys probably shouldn't have this parade. Like, oh no, it's fine. You know, we're just gonna have this parade here, and no one don't get sick. And then everyone died.
That's what everyone in New
I
Jersey
was
sounded
gonna
like
say,
100 years
spot on
ago.
New Jersey accent, man.
Well, that's
You
not.
gotta
See, but they're
tell.
not. The thing is that the voice I was doing was not a person from New Jersey, but a person who is now like a mayor or a representative for New Jersey, right? But they didn't grow up there. Yes, and they're old and they're rich. You know, because like everyone in power is not where they're from.
Everyone in power is not where they're from.
Yeah, they're from somewhere unknown.
I feel like that means a
Like-
lot more than I can understand. I just like the way it sounds. Everyone in power is not.
Well, the
where they're
president
from. I
has
like
to be
that.
from the U.S.
Yes, but he's not from Washington.
Everyone in power is not where they're from. I like that.
That's
That's going. That's a
Everyone
winning-
in power
that's
is
a
not
Mark Twain
from
shit, man.
where they're in power.
Don't even try to understand it. Like, let somebody intelligent figure out what it means, and then just claim the definition.
100 years from now, there's going to be a political science class. Everyone in power is not where they're from. Let's dissect
Just
this.
mix
Let's
it
really
in.
break this down, okay, guys? 'Cause that's what they're all going to sound like 100 years from now.
Oh, now
Yeah, they'll have
that's
the
real New Jersey
overbite.
too.
Yes, they're also New Jersey.
Super New Jersey. Welcome to Super New Jersey. We're
This
not
is
in
North
the South,
New
but
Jersey.
we like to
No,
sound
100 years
like
from
we
now,
are.
they're going to split every state. So then you'll have all the ones that don't have a North and South will now have a North and South. So there'll be like
every
90
like
states.
Korea, every state's gonna be.
Well,
No,
no,
they
I
just
do.
wanna
I
have
do
more
feel like there's a
states.
difference between Northern Illinois and Southern
Oh, yeah.
Illinois. So
See, it
like
would
there
work.
might as well be two states right
would work
there,
here.
'cause
Northern
they are
Illinois.
completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Jeff Foxworthy. As soon as you leave the city, everybody's a redneck.
I mean, that's
We're
an apt statement.
we're just ho hum, countryers. Once you leave a city, it's like the cities define the eclectic part of the culture. You know what I mean? It seems that way to me, at least. Like having driven around the country.
No,
Yes,
once you get to a rural area, it's redneck.
It's pretty.
Yeah,
it's
no,
pretty. I mean, yeah.
no
maybe
matter
not
where you
redneck,
are,
he's a
once you
comedian,
get
but-
rural, you're redneck.
Well, even
Yeah,
the
it's
word
pretty-
rural. Like
rural.
rural.
It's like horror.
rural. Yeah,
Horrors and horrors.
Rural. From the rural.
It's rural.
Don't hurt yourself now, kid.
That sounds like an old car trying to start up.
Or,
Not.
or like an old dog.
It's an old dog. Yeah.
Rural.
That's what this we should do a show once where we're just barking.
Or just like, yeah, well, we could call it Animal Farm, right? And just do different.
You want to reenact Animal Farm? And
Like
play
the
parts of
novel,
the animals,
but
but not use any English?
Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. I do now. That
I
wasn't
wanna
what I was
be-
necessarily getting at.
I want to
but
be the horse that dies and the old dog.
I want to be a sheep. And I don't know. Maybe
No,
a
you know what?
spider.
I want to
don't
be the
know
horse
what they
that
have.
dies and one of the pigs.
Yeah, the pigs.
I'll be
Pigs
one
are
of the
like the best
pigs.
ones.
Yeah, but pigs suck. I don't want
Yeah,
to be a pig.
I'll play the villain. It's cool, man. I don't mind.
I'm just saying they suck. I hate pigs.
Well, just in general, you hate pigs?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're gross. They're just disgusting animals. And then when they get out in the wild, they're even worse. Like teacup pigs, I never got how people find them cute. Like they're disgusting. Like they look
Yeah,
like
but
pink little.
I respect
rats.
the animal for its confidence level, right? A pig is just like, it's like
Well, pigs are
comfortable
really
anywhere.
smart though. Like they
Yeah.
do have a lot of it. They're high intelligence. They're as smart as dogs, if not smarter.
Well, I mean, how hygienic would you be if you didn't have to be? Think about that for a second.
What?
Right?
What do you mean if I didn't get
If
diseased?
it didn't affect your health and you could still get laid, wouldn't you just be a pig?
Well, I guess at that point, I don't realize I'm a pig, right? Because I don't have.
Yeah,
any
you
of
wouldn't.
the-
You wouldn't
the
define that as being a
sensories
pig. You'd be define
to-
that as being Zach, or I'd define that as being Camden. I mean me.
Kim is a very clean, and
He is.
hygienic individual.
But he's a
to
werewolf.
keep that.
Yeah, werewolves have to
He
be.
conditions. It's very soft.
Oh, that's what I want to see in a horror movie: is a
werewolf conditioning.
conditioned werewolf. Yeah.
Just a werewolf
Look
is
at that
just,
fur. It's
a
so
werewolf who
silky.
takes care of himself. A metrosexual
A
werewolf.
metrosexual werewolf.
And when he turns, he's like, oh, sexual, and he's like brushing himself.
Well, it's already in a song, right? It's in Werewolf in London.
Is he a metrosexual?
Yeah, isn't there a lyric in the song where he's like, I saw a werewolf with like a Chinese menu in his hand. His hair was perfect.
No, really? That's so good.
Isn't that, what's that song? I forget the name of that song.
Well, that's
Werewolves in London, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Oh, woo.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's
I'm
your
not good with
guys'
lyrics.
favorite monster, though?
My favorite monster?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm predictable vampire.
Still?
Dude,
That's your vampire? That's your
and I want to
favorite?
be a vampire.
And you want to be it?
yeah.
What's your favorite? Do you have one?
My favorite monster is humans.
Yeah.
We're the
Wow. I mean, that's...
Too real.
We're the you couldn't dream up a human. You couldn't even come up with this shit that we do. My God.
I mean, I agree, but
All
it's also
monsters
very,
are
like,
just extensions of what humans do and behavior that humans have.
Well, that...
And then we
yeah.
personify them as
And
a monster.
Wouldn't
to
it be a-
explain.
I agree with that.
Wouldn't it be a cool plot if humans, that we were seeded on Earth by the master human race to like harvest something totally trivial, and then they
Okay.
return one day and they just subjugate us to retrieve it and then leave, and that's what they just do with the universe.
Or they like collapse, so they no longer their society collapsed, so they no longer come to get their resources that we were enslaved to.
Yeah, maybe
mine
like
or whatever.
like a partition of their galactic empire is suffering, so they're falling back on these old colonies like Earth that they haven't visited in like 30,000 years.
I feel like Jupiter Ascending kind of touched on that.
Yeah,
about, like a
Jupiter Ascending was
corporation
terrible, though.
that like owns all these different planets, and then they mine the planet by killing all the life, and they use the energy from that to like power their shit.
I mean, yeah, they had space werewolves. Is that what you are, a space werewolf?
Space wolf,
Space wolf.
No, not
Space
space
wolf?
werewolf, not space wolf.
space werewolf.
Yeah,
Sounds
space
cool.
werewolf, because that's a hybrid.
What does the were mean? Were and werewolf, is that like a German word or an
I
Old
don't
English?
know. I think it just refers to the
No, it's
lycanthropy.
there, like there,
There.
wolf,
Werewolf. Werewolf. Where?
That's all it means. Someone
Werewolf?
misspoke.
My favorite monster would have to be the Wendigo.
I was going to ask you what you. Yeah, I can see you as a Wendigo.
Wendigos are awesome.
What's a
They're
Wendigo?
So Wendigos are
Arctic
Algonquin
gorilla.
language mythical creature,
yeah,
right?
They were in Supernatural, right?
Yeah, there's one in Supernatural. But they what they look like is they're like giant beings. They have no gender. They have
How
sharp
progressive.
yeah, they have sharp teeth and sharp claws, and their lips are gnawed, like they're like jagged and chewed off by their own mouth. And you can become one by a few different ways, by eating human flesh, prioritizing the self over the community, or having like imbalance in your spirituality, kind of thing like that. And then also, if you dream about a Wendigo, you can
So
become one.
basically, if you're crazy,
Yeah.
you become a Wendigo.
There used to be a named psychosis called the Wendigo psychosis, and they thought it was just like people would become ravenous for human flesh out of nowhere. But that's like highly debated, and most people don't believe that it's a real thing.
Well, that
I have
is-
the definition for werewolf real quick.
Yeah.
It just means man-wolf in Old English. And then you have lycanthrope, which is Greek for wolf
Yeah.
person. So that's where
I like
lycan comes
lycanthrope.
from.
That's one of my favorite words.
Lycanthrope.
That's a great
Man
word.
wolf.
I think it's a good word too.
It's a fun word.
Well, I like the guy.
That's why we need you, Camden. You're our fact checker, man.
Oh, that'd be good.
Expert Googler.
Yeah, I got this special device, and I can just type words in, and I find the meanings.
Don't teach anyone how to use it, though. Make that your specialty. And then we can be the space werewolf, the Wendigo, and the vampire.
Dude, that sounds like a really good like comic or something.
It sounds
You know?
like, something like a show I'd watch, or like a joke. Like
there would
we
be a
walk
lot
into
of like
bar.
neon colors, right? It would be very like purples.
Well, I
and,
think a
like,
space werewolf needs some neon. Like, think of like a Tron werewolf.
Yeah.
Like a werewolf in Tron.
okay.
And then the Wendigo, you just come from like, I don't know, like, what is that ice planet from Star Wars?
Hoth.
Hoth, yeah. So that's what that thing is in Hoth, right? It's like a Wendigo.
The Wampa?
No, the thing that,
It's
that
like, they're like
there's
Arctic
like a
gorillas, right?
well, there's
Oh, the
like
Tauntaun.
I don't know the fucking.
no, I think the Wampa's what you're talking is what
Yeah,
he's
the Wampa-
talking about. The creature that attacks Luke.
Gets his arm cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all the
But
names
he's
in
more
Star
like
Wars.
Yeti like.
Well, a Wendigo
But-
is what, more on all fours?
No, they stand upright. They look humanoid, but they're not
Okay,
as
so
like,
they're more athletic than a Yeti.
yeah, they're not like
They work out.
A
hulking.
Yeti kind of lumbers, but a Wendigo's kind of,
They're agile,
let's
they're
not
quick, and they're
generalize. You know, I'm sure there's a variety of different types of Wendigo.
No, there are actually,
How
especially
can they? They have no
especially
Let's not
after,
stereotype them. You know?
especially
no
after like
variety.
the
They have
movie.
no gender.
There's a movie called The
variety.
Wendigo, and in the movie he has a deer face and deer antlers, and he's got a human body. So, and then in later iterations in films and other books and stuff, they have just horns. Some have ram
That's what I've
horns
seen,
where
is
their
like the
ears
horned-
are.
The horned
But
Wendigo.
in general, they don't. And like in the original lore, they didn't have.
Well, video games love horned Wendigos. I feel like they're always. That's how they look. Like
I just like
something-
horned creatures. Horned creatures look really cool.
I like the idea
I wish
too.
I had horns too. That's another thing I want is horns. When I saw the guy who got implants and he was like making his own horns pretty much out of his own calcium and stuff. I was like, I want that, but it looks painful. But I want it.
I like the idea of like Native American horror and like their lore and like their
they get
their
some creepy
stories,
shit.
because I was thinking the other day, like, I don't know if there's any movies like this, but if you had like a Native Americans and early settlers and kind of a story where there's like a monster, there's a thing, and they have to join together to like kill it, there's got to be something.
Bone Tomahawk is kind of that way, because in Bone Tomahawk there's an Indian that helps this Southwest, this like
Is that the one where they
Gunslinger
cut the guy in
Town.
half?
I think so. It's where they go after. There's like
Patrick
this,
Wilson?
No, it's with Kurt Russell, and they go after.
Or yeah, Patrick Wilson's the guy who
Oh,
goes
right, yeah,
to
okay.
save them.
Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of like that because they join forces to hunt down this tribe of Indians.
But I mean, like a monster, like an actual
Indian monster.
Or I was thinking the other day,
Yeah.
like if there was a zombie movie that took place in like 1512, or like Roanoke, the whole story of Roanoke.
Thanksgiving is during like it starts out in like Pilgrim times and stuff
Wait a
like
minute, isn't
that.
that with like the possessed turkey?
Yes.
Oh god,
And then
that fucking movie.
so the movie,
How happy he is right now. It's ridiculous.
it's one of those great B movies that I just love because they're awful.
See, yeah, that makes no
And
sense.
it opens up with this pilgrim girl with ginormous boobs,
Oh, I gotta
like
watch
just
this
a
now,
big
then.
bust, right? And she's just like running, and she's just flopping everywhere, right? And then she falls over, and then the turkey comes up behind her, gives his one-liner, and stabs her to death. That's how it opens.
What's the one-liner? Do you remember?
Don't remember, but it was probably awesome.
The only thing that's more ridiculous, I think, than movies like that is what's it? Is it called Tire? It's about a
Yeah, Rubber.
rubber.
Rubber's another good one.
I
See,
didn't
these are
watch all
movies
of that.
you can't watch these movies alone. They're not
No.
nearly as good when you watch them by yourself. Because
True.
I've tried it,
Yeah.
and it's just not fun when you can't make fun of the
My
movie with your
roommates
friends.
watched that, and they were quite thrilled, it seemed, by it. So I'll have to watch it all the way through. I started.
You just
I'm
have to
like,
watch
what
it with
is this?
friends that you can talk about it with and
Yeah.
make fun of it. That's the key.
I feel like that's something we should do. We should be kind of like do our own riff tracks, not to rip off riff tracks, but like to be our own, like comedy trio version of it. I think that would be fun. We do it anyway.
Yeah.
Why not share it with the world?
There's probably one person who would listen.
Yeah. One person for sure.
There's at least
It would
three, I
be-
would
it
hope.
would be-
Hey, all
it
you
would
need
be
is
one of
one
us.
person.
It would be only Mark.
Yeah, and Marcus.
Not even the other creators would
Do it
listen
for
to
yourself.
it, just me.
Hey man, if you don't do it for yourself, then who are you doing it for?
Oh, that's so real.